So, I was thinking about what's going on in the world today, like I do all day, every day. And today I wanted to talk about one of the biggest arguments I see and hear against Bitcoin. And the reason I want to spend time talking about that is, for one, I hold a small, insignificant amount of Bitcoin myself. I'm dollar cost averaging into Bitcoin. And I believe it does have some value as an asset, a digital asset. But I honestly I don't know. I'm really more of just a speculator and just hoping that it has value eventually in the future, more value than it does today. Um, I'm learning as much about it as I possibly can, and basically, when I try to talk to a lot of people about Bitcoin that aren't familiar with it already, they're one of the biggest arguments that I ever hear is, what do you do with Bitcoin when the power goes out or your cell phone's dead or anything like that? And people just focus on that as just a singular event. The power's out. Oh no, I can't get to my money. Okay. And that's all they focus on. And there's so many arguments against that about, the power being out that people just don't realize, and they just default on that and say, well, if the power's out, Bitcoin's dead. If the internet's out, Bitcoin's dead. Okay. Let's say that's true. So imagine we have a meltdown. The global electrical grid is just vaporized somehow. Okay. Um, just imagine that could happen. Well, most of the dollars in today's existence or currencies in today's existence are already digital in some aspect, right? When you get paid, when's the last time you got currency, cash, right? And your boss hands you, your check in cash. I can't remember that a time in my life ever. I used to get paid for checks when I was younger, and then it started direct deposit and it was all virtual. And it's hard to get cash nowadays, cash currency, at least in the United States. I don't know how it is in other countries, but you know, paper money is not very common anymore. It's more common to use debit cards, credit cards, um, phone applications you can do for payment. You can, use Apple Pay, things like that, to just like digitally tap your phone on the little kind of like point of sale device, and it debits your account, all that type of stuff. So the whole argument of, well, I don't want to have Bitcoin because if the power goes out, I can't get my money. Well, you're not going to get to your bank account, your Chase app on your iPhone, right? You're not going to be able to use your debit card because the point of sale system's down. The banks are going to be in total chaos because they can't manage their accounts because it's all virtual, right? So that argument is just completely blown out of the water. Furthermore, people think, we have all these investments and things like that. I have my 401k, my Roth IRAs, all these things invested in Fidelity, Vanguard, all the websites and stuff like that of the major um, 401k brokerages and stuff like that. And that is extremely inaccessible in the event of internet or power failure. I mean, it's just their websites go down from time to time anyway in good current environment, right? That we live in today. So it's ridiculous to think that other assets like cash are better. Maybe cash currency is a little bit better, okay, because you can have some paper dollars. But here's the other thing, okay? If the power grid goes down globally, it's only going to be a matter of days until the world is in complete chaos. Complete chaos. And I would say it would start with the developed nations like the United States and Western Europe and all that first, because we're not adapted to dealing with not having electricity, not having internet. We've been so conditioned and brought to this level of comfort of having all these resources available to us 24/7 on demand whenever we want. And other countries, like developing countries, have dealt with power outages. They've dealt with internet outages. And if that type of stuff happens, their lives still go on. They're prepared to handle that. The Western world is really not prepared for that at all. So power goes out. Imagine power goes out at your house. Chances are it's either going to get cold or hot because your main method of climate control in your house is probably dependent on electricity. Maybe not. Maybe yours, you have a wood fired oven to heat your home, or you don't have AC and you just open the windows. Okay, so you get by with that. What about refrigeration? Probably going to be relying on electricity. A typical fridge nowadays doesn't have much insulation in it. It might last a few hours before things start to kind of go bad or thaw out, in your freezer. And so you're let's say you're at 24 hours at best before all that food is pretty much trash. Okay. You could still probably eat it, but you know, you're taking a chance there. So refrigeration's down within a day. Most houses, aren't going to have any heating or cooling, so that's going to make you uncomfortable. And then your phone doesn't work, your internet doesn't work. You don't know how to get to the damn store. The store is closed because everything they do is runs on electronics. So what I'm trying to say is, if the global electrical grid goes down, nobody's going to be worrying about getting to their Bitcoin or getting to their dollars. They're going to be worried about surviving. Okay. Most of the world is not ready or prepared to survive without electricity, and we would have complete chaos within days. Um, if you remember back in time, there was an event in New York City where there was a big blackout, and that was kind of localized event. It covered a big area, but it was a lot of people because it was just in a densely packed area, and that was a huge deal. There was no power. And so imagine that on the global scale. Communications down, transportation's down, hospitals are down, everything like that. There's going to be so much chaos. It's not going to matter. At best, I think in that case, the assets that you have readily available within arm's reach are going to be the most valuable ones. So if you have a little bit of cash, maybe that's worth something if somebody's willing to trade you something for it. If you have some gold and silver like bullion that you can trade, maybe that'll be worth something. Again, it depends if somebody wants to trade you what they have for that. They have to see value in it. And then finally, I think the most uh, valuable resources in an event like that will be having a secure shelter, secure water supply, a secure food supply, and a way to protect all that and keep your family safe. Honestly, that's where I think the value will be, because people are going to start getting hungry, going to start getting thirsty, and coming around and looking for what you have. Um, they don't care. They're not going to care about Bitcoin. They're not going to care about US dollars. They're not going to care about anything like that. They're going to care about getting food for their families. So um, the argument that if the electrical grid went down, Bitcoin would be inaccessible. So therefore, I don't want to speculate. I don't want to invest in it because it's dumb. Is not valid enough for me. So I'd love to know your thoughts on that. Leave me a comment. Let's talk about this a little bit more.